Hi, welcome to Right Brain Rescue Podcast. These are interviews that inspire and invigorate to ignite your creative flow. I'm Dr. Lara, and my mission is to elevate creativity to the platform as the sixth vital sign, because it's essential to everyone's well-being and creativity matters. Here, I will examine the importance of nurturing your own flow state, building your most vibrant and healthy life by learning what works for others. We'll combine tips from neuroscience, functional medicine, and positive psychology so you learn how to tap into your unique creativity. And today's guest is my dear friend, Ann Lange. She is a beast on the course and a copywriter for the Lara catalog, which is a branch of Swiss Colonies. And she has been a longtime friend in the gym. She knows flow state in and out because nothing stops this woman from achieving her goals. And I know she'll have a lot to teach the rest of us. Thank you, Ann, for coming on.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, personal, where you're from, etc.
Sure. I'm originally from Wausau, Wisconsin, which is about 4 hours north of Monroe. We moved here when my husband got a job at Epic up in Verona. And we've lived in Monroe now for about 12 years, and we have a daughter who is almost 8 years old. So I work at the Colony as a copywriter, and I run in my spare time.
Yes, you run a lot in your spare time. I don't know, you must have like a 26-hour clock, I think.
I get up really early. I have a headlamp, and I run a lot in the dark.
I love it.
Or I run at lunch, or...
Yes.
I run in the evenings while my daughter is sitting next to me saying, "How many more miles, Mom? How many more miles?"
Oh my gosh. So you push her in the stroller then, huh?
Well, no, not anymore. I used to push her in the stroller. Now if I have to run, I'll run on my treadmill downstairs and she'll stand next to me and look impatient.
Nice.
Faster. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So would you consider yourself a creative person? I mean, you have a creative job. Did you always consider yourself creative?
I think so, because I've always been involved. It's actually interesting. When I was younger, I was involved in the arts very heavily. I was a musician. I hated any type of athletics, definitely not a runner. So I've always been involved with creativity in some form or another, but definitely use it in my everyday life.
I love it. Okay.
Every day.
What instrument did you play?
I started with piano when I was about 5, but trumpet became my main instrument, and I played that through college. That's actually how I met my husband.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you still play right now?
No, I run instead.
Yes.
The trumpet is sadly gathering dust down in the basement.
Right.
Maybe at some point. We'll see.
Right. There's always a time and place. And that's the thing about flow state, right? I mean, I'm sure you remember performing and getting into the zone like any athlete. I mean, being a musician is using a set of skills and then having to perform. That's just like an athlete. So can you tell me about one particularly proud creative moment playing trumpet that you had?
Oh, sure. And I think a lot of times you know the piece so well, you don't even really realize what you're doing. It's just happening, and it's an out-of-body experience. And that's really the best feeling, where you can almost watch yourself performing and you just think, oh my gosh, this is going so well. And then when you're done, it's indescribable how happy that makes you, I think. So
right.
I haven't thought about performing trumpet or piano in a really long time, actually.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's a separate part of my life from my running life. It's two different lives that I've lived.
Sure. Well, yeah, they are different and somewhat overlapping with the same different flow states, I think,
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody has a different cup they need filled. This is my theory. I remember those performances well. I played clarinet, and I totally know what you mean. It's this out of body, almost transcendental experience where your fingers are moving, you're doing all sorts of things you're not even thinking about, and then you're done. And it's kind of a cool feeling. And, I guess science would say it's a dopamine high. You're getting this performance, and you found other ways for your dopamine. I mean, you're running, and there is a high when you finish a race. I'm sure of it, right?
Oh, absolutely. And there's a high even when you finish a good workout, or a workout that you were afraid to do at the beginning. And it's funny, I'll come home all pumped up and I'll be like yelling directions at my husband and my daughter, do this, do that. And they'll be like, oh, she just ran and she's all excited. Calm down.
So does running make you more enthusiastic, or does it zen you out a little bit? Or maybe that's an unfair question. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
I think it definitely makes me more enthusiastic. I'm not a particularly zen-y type person to begin with.
Mhm.
Running definitely jazzes me up, and like after a good run, all I want to do is like run around the house cleaning or, do something else because I'm so invigorated. Running gives me more energy. Now,
That's
it doesn't make me want to like sit down and chill out.
I love that. Okay, so I have to ask because this is very intriguing to me. Like you, I was not an athlete. I was very artistic in the arts. But then somewhere along our journeys, you and I identify as runners. So tell me about how did you end up a runner?
Well, it's kind of it's a long story, but basically, I met my husband in college, gained a substantial amount of weight, and kept that weight on until we had our daughter. And then when we had our daughter, I decided this isn't the way I want to be. This isn't the life I want to live. So I joined Weight Watchers and lost right around 100 pounds.
Wow.
Um, so over the course of, I think, 18 months. So after that, I needed kind of a new challenge. I needed something to keep me motivated. I was already exercising quite a bit. I was going to a circuit training gym. I was walking a lot. But one day it just occurred to me, I wonder how far you could run if you tried to run. I wonder if you could do it. Because previously, like, even the thought of running a mile in high school was, and I wasn't overweight in high school, but it was horrifying. It was like the worst day of the year. And if I could get out of that any way I could. So I went out and I very, very vividly remember running like 1.6 miles without stopping. And then, even then, I stopped because I came to a hill and I thought, well, you better walk this hill. It wasn't even really because I needed to. And I got home and I remember saying to Jeff, I just ran more than I've ever run in my life, and faster and easier. And I'm, 30 something, and it was amazing. And then from there, it kind of snowballed. Even then I would hear people at the gym say, oh, well, I did this half marathon. And I would think, oh God, that's never going to be me. I will never run 13 miles. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. Because there are days when running 3 miles hurts a lot. And then it occurred to me that you get a medal if you sign up for a half marathon. And at the time I thought, well, the only way you'll get a medal running 5Ks is if you place in your age group. And I thought, well, I'll never do that. So I might as well run the half marathon and get the medal. So I ended up being relatively good at running, which was a big surprise. I, for whatever reason, I took to it and it took to me, and I just started doing it more and more. And before I knew it, I was signed up for a marathon and told my husband it was a one and done deal. And then
Never say never, right?
yeah, right. And then, right after that one, I was like, well, I guess I need to sign up for one in the spring now too. And he was like, oh,
Yes, the beast has awakened. Yes.
pretty much. And then, there's always another goal. That's the wonderful thing about running. And that's the thing that I really love, is that I can go run with friends and I'm not competitive with them, but I'm really competitive with myself. And you can always see how well you're doing and how you're progressing. And so that's what I love about it.
Yes. You know what? You hit upon a great trick that is a psychological trick. And we talk about this in flow state. So flow is everybody's unique recipe is different. Some people need a certain environment to get into flow state. Some people are fair weather runners. That's a good example. So they might need a little bit more help when it's wintry and cold, and
Mm-hmm.
ways to navigate that. But what flow state is a delicate balance between something that challenges your skills just enough. It's not too easy. And it's also
Mm-hmm.
not too far out of reach. Because if it's too
Mm-hmm.
hard, you don't want to do it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what I love about your story is you did flow state and you did these little teeny recipes and methods all throughout your whole path, saying, okay, well, what about if I did this? Like, you took something that you could do, which was easy. You ran up 1.6 miles and then you thought, well, maybe I wonder if I could run a little further. And a lot of us do that trick. Well, let's just at least run to that stop sign
Yep.
without, and you're basically giving yourself these little shots of dopamine, and it's awesome. And you've created this healthy way of living as a result. And I think that's amazing. Does your daughter like to run?
She does, although she is very competitive, and she gets that from her father, by the way.
Of course,
And
of course.
right, and She does not like, she competes with me when we run, so I definitely have to. She's very fond of telling me that she's faster than me, and then I get mad at her and I speed past her, and then
Right?
we end up coming home not speaking to each other.
That's awesome. And that's
Yeah,
awesome.
she does. She loves to run. She's more of a swimmer, I think, than a runner. We might have a triathlete on our hands. So
Ooh, and that's great. That's great. You know,
we'll
the
see.
other thing too you were mentioning is just the idea that you're competitive with yourself. And I think that can resonate with a lot of our health professionals, because when you go in to apply for nursing or medical school or residency, it's very competitive and you're competing
Oh,
against,
absolutely.
other people. And so it narrows our mindset to be this competitive nature. And what is so healthy and important is it's okay to be competitive with yourself, and it's okay to nourish yourself to be better and not worry so much. And that's what flow is. It's a selflessness. You don't actually care when you're in flow state. Like, I'm sure you can describe, if you're running a marathon, you're going to see people faster than you. I mean, it just happens, and you realize that you're only running your own race. You're just in it in your own head, right? And it's such a lesson. Can you describe to me a sense of flow? Like, when was the last time you had that? Can you describe how it felt and what you were experiencing?
Yeah. So the last marathon I ran, it would have been last October, so October of 17. I've had some injuries, but recently. But I had this workout at the track. It was 5 a.m. I didn't want to get out of bed, and it was a chillier morning for the fall. And I got out of bed and went to the track and did these 800s, which is 2 times around the track, and then you get a little bit of recovery, and then 2 times around the track. And basically, you're supposed to be able to run. This is probably too much detail, but basically, you're supposed to be able to run the 400s. Like, if you're aiming for a 3-hour and 30-minute marathon, you're supposed to be able to rather run the 800s in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And if you can do that consistently, then you're set for your marathon. And I remember being so stressed out about this workout, because this was like the make or break it workout. And my coach was going to be serious about this workout. And I got to the track and I didn't want to do it. And I just was like, okay, 1 mile warm up. If you don't feel it, you can stop. And once you start going, it really was. It was like an out of body experience. Everything clicked. Like, these paces that normally felt really laborious were just easy, and you felt like you were flying. And literally, like, you could spend the rest of your day running around that track in total darkness and you wouldn't be tired. And I think that was a workout where I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this amazing race is really going to happen. And that's
That's
a really
awesome.
big flow state that stands out for me.
That's wonderful and very beautifully described. And if you're like, I think I can speak for myself as well as most marathon runners, didn't you afterward do like a post-mortem and you dissected, like, I wonder why that happened? Like, did I eat the right amount of carbs right before my, run?
Yep.
Was the temperature good? And you try to
Yep.
dial it in, but sometimes you can't figure it out. You just go with it, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes you have no idea why it all clicked. And then on the flip side, sometimes, you get the perfect weather, you're all pumped up for a run, and for whatever reason, it doesn't click. And it's just as important to let those runs go, because
Yes.
bad runs happen the same way good runs happen.
Right. It is very meditative and very zen, because I like what you did, that you gave yourself a mile. It's if we never show up to that race, or we never show up for that workout, and we always give in, then you're never going to get anywhere. And what you did was beautiful. You said, okay, I'm going to give myself a mile. And if I'm not feeling it, then I'm good. I'm out for
Mm-hmm.
today. And I think that's showing grace on yourself for, we're human. And you mentioned you have some injuries. How are you dealing with that? How has that been for you?
It's been trying, to say the least. I am going on tomorrow. It will be 6 weeks since I've ran. Yeah, I
Oh,
have, yeah, I have a pelvic stress fracture, which is an overuse injury. It's pretty common among, well, not common, but it's more common among women runners. Um, so that was confirmed with an MRI. And then I just have some tendinosis in my glute and my hip flexor. I started working with a coach about 18 months ago, and I think we were both a little bit maybe overly enthusiastic, and maybe instead of setting tiny goals and working towards them, we set a really gigantic goal and just went after it as hard as we could. And in retrospect, maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. But you live and you learn.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways it was a blessing because I was really getting burned out. I was getting burned out, and this break and was maybe what I needed to really rediscover the joy of running again, because I've gotten to swim and I bought a bike and I've been riding the bike and I've been doing more circuit training than I've done in the last year. So
That's
doing a lot of other
awesome.
exercises that just I didn't have time to fit in anymore.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah, that is tough. I would imagine, do you get flow now? I mean, are you trying to kind of go after your swimming so at least you get a little bit of that zen? Are you noticing that's still there?
not as much with swimming, just because it's a constant struggle to take in breath. Um, but definitely even I have a different coach now who I'm really excited about, and she gave me just a bike workout where it was like 1 or 3 minutes hard, 1 minute easy, for 5 sets, and it was just so much fun to like push myself so hard again and have a workout that you need to accomplish versus just like climbing on the bike and being bored for an hour. And
Mm-hmm.
that was actually an instance where, after I got off the exercise bike, I came in and I was like, okay, Jeff, we have to do this. Jeff's my husband. We have to do this and this and this and this, and let's go. And he was just looking at me like, oh, great, she's back.
Yep.
So,
That's awesome. She's back. I love it. So, okay, so answer me this. If you were to try and talk with somebody who says to you convincingly, they do not believe that they are creative in any way, they don't believe that they have anything to offer, what would be some words of advice that you would help them with?
I think we all feel like we're not creative at some point. And I feel like I'm not creative, or I'm tempted to compare myself to other creatives on a daily basis and think, well, you're not creative compared to them. But we all have our own unique perspective. We all have our own unique experiences that nobody else brings to the table. And that makes us creative. And I think it's really, and I try to force it every day because of the job I'm in. Being a copywriter, you have to be creative on cue to some extent. But it's really important to not force it. And if you're not feeling creative, set it down for 10 minutes, set it down for an hour, let your brain kind of work on it in the background. Go watch a YouTube
Mm-hmm.
video, go read a novel, and you'll find that when you come back to it, it's a lot easier. That's my big thing, is how I
Absolutely.
get
That's
around it.
great. Oh my gosh, two huge, wonderful nuggets of advice there, because you talk about just the idea of we sometimes have reactions to words. I think of our own definition as athlete. I wouldn't consider myself an athlete. You may not have back in the day, now you are. But when somebody says creative, a lot of people have that initial pushback, like, well, no, I'm not creative. I don't paint like Picasso. I don't.
Mhm.
And so just redefining it, like you said, that you are unique. And just by the fact that everybody is unique, that no one else in this world is going to look at whatever problem that is with your set of eyes and your set of experience. And the only definition of creativity is something that's new and useful. And so it could be anything,
Mhm.
looking at a problem with a different set of eyes. And the second piece of advice that you hit really well on that we love to foster in Right Brain Rescue is the idea of the default brain network. So we're very much in our prefrontal cortex in our brain. We're analyzing, we're thinking. That's where we spend a lot of our waking time. And sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away, because your brain
Mhm.
continues to work on it, but it's in that default creative access. And that's when those bursts of epiphanies come, when you're like in the shower, or you're just walking around and you have an aha moment. So
Mhm.
important to give a break. Now, how often would you say, do you have anything that you do that you give yourself a break, or you have a timer or a certain set day that you kind of relax? What's your routine?
In terms of running, typically I have a rest day on Thursdays, and I don't do any kind of physical activity on Thursdays. And it's really funny because on Wednesdays, typically my body is really tired and I'm exhausted, and I cannot wait for this rest day to come and you can sleep in. There's no getting up early. And then by the end of the day on Thursday, I feel like such a sloth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this rest day cannot get over fast enough. I cannot wait to get up on Fridays. And I think just taking the time away to like focus on my family and having a nice family meal and taking my daughter to swimming on Thursdays. Not that I don't do stuff with them all week, but that day when they know that I'm not rushing out the door to get a run in, or I'm not rushing somewhere else, and it's all, there's no exercise talk on Thursdays.
So. Right? It's forbidden.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love it. Well, you're kind of saying like absence makes the flow state grow fonder, right? That's what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. And I can only imagine next week when I finally get to run how great that flow state's going to be, because 7 weeks is a long time.
Yeah, that is. You've done really well. That's got to be hard. And, but because your mind is so mentally strong and trained, I think you persisted, and that you will find your way and you'll be back at it, and you still have that nickname Beast for a reason. So well, I want to say thank you, Ann. Your story is going to resonate with a lot of our listeners and viewers, and you're going to help them excavate their own flow recipe, whether they consider themselves a creative person or not. We are all creative, just like you said. And if anybody wants to learn more, they can go to rightbrainrescue.com, where we have a self-paced guided method that will help you tap into your own creativity. And I love helping burned out physicians and health professionals grow their right brain so they can thrive and contribute more with ease and joy in a toxic system. So find me on Facebook, keep subscribing to iTunes, and if you're ready to dive deeper, please get your admitting orders at rightbrainrescue.com. Until next time, keep finding your flow, because creativity matters. Thank you.